If I was an owner, I wouldn't be meddling. But in the case of Zion, I'd be like, fellas, step out of the way. This is Lindros, Bryce. Like, this is going to make me money, too, and I own the team. Can you envision a team trading Zion if they got him?
No, especially many of the teams need a drawing card, and he's a drawing card. I mean, there's an argument to be made that you would draft John Morant ahead of Zion Williamson because he's a freak athlete. He's a dominant ball handler. He's the kind of guy that his usage rating will be much higher.
Good point.
And though he may not have the initial impact of Zion, I think Zion's going to be initially very impactful, even though he needs to improve his jump shot. I think John Morant has a chance to be a dominant guard for years to come.
Yeah.
But he puts butts in the seats, and that's one of the hardest things in sports. I'm going to disagree with you on Atlanta. You're wrong about Atlanta. This is actually, and look, I don't love the Atlanta sports fan, but the Hawks GM is a former Warriors guy.
Yeah.
They have their own Steph Curry, and they have John Collins, who's a young burgeoning star.
Yeah.
This would give them their own Draymond Green, if you will. Like, again, I think the league would love it if he's in New York.
Right.
They wouldn't hate it if he's in Chicago. It'd be ironic if he was in Cleveland, but I would move Atlanta more up the list. You put him with Trae Young, and I'm watching. I'm watching every night.
Okay.
That would be entertaining. Atlanta fans may not watch because they don't always show up for their home team.
I know.
But I would be watching.
It's interesting about this Warriors thing, and we talked about this before, is that you were a pass-first point guard, and if you would have been a greater shooter, you may not have been as effective as a leader. In that, it's hard for fans to wrap their arms around, but sometimes the best player on the floor does stop the ball. And listen, you can't deny the numbers. I'm watching Golden State. They're 30-4 without KD and with Steph. They look different. They're more fluid. I'm not saying long-term it's better. But
actually, you just did, but that's okay.
Okay, but I will say,
you're saying they're better without Kevin Durant.
They're different.
They are different.
They're different.
They're different, but they're better with Kevin Durant. You take the numbers of 30-4. What games did he not play? Who did he not play? This is like plus minus. Who else was on the floor with you when your plus minus was better? Look, it was incredible what they did Friday night in Houston. Incredible.
One of the best NBA games I've seen in years.
Not just that, but a coaching masterpiece. Cycling through your entire bench in the first half, completely changing the way in which you played, using big guys, using Andrew Bogut and Kevon Looney, and using Jordan Bell, who'd been buried deep in the doghouse, and bringing him out, running through offensive sets you hadn't used in a game in months, and getting good looks for the Quinn Cooks of the world. And I thought that exhausted Houston, and Houston, they didn't lose the game in the first half, but they could have won the game in the first half, and they did not.
No question.
But if you listen to what the Warriors are saying, they're like, look, we can do it for a night. We don't think we can do it for... Now, look, they get a bit of a reprieve playing Portland, who I just don't think this is a good matchup. Like, they like to play fast. They like to play, they're guard dominant. Like, they're a slightly lesser version of what the Warriors like to do, and they don't have a Draymond Green.
Right.
But let's not take what was a masterpiece on Friday night. Think about this. Andre Iguodala hadn't hit more than 4 threes in a game, since 2011. 2011. We're 2019 now. Okay?
I know.
I mean, you want to talk about competitive greatness? How about a guy who is seen as a non-shooter, is left open, hits 5 big threes, and then the biggest play of the game, he actually passed the ball to Clay. But to the people saying they're better without him, they are different. The ball does move differently. But based upon how this team is constructed, they need a Kevin Durant to carry them through most nights. And occasionally, they're going to get a Clay night in Game 6. And they're, of course, going to get Steph Curry, who's up a little bit up and down, but he can give you 30 in a heartbeat.
I want to say this. This weekend, Friday and Sunday, I watched the NBA, and I just had a ball watching it. And there's so many players I like to watch. And I know Toronto is not good for ratings because it's the 3rd biggest city in North America, but they don't count for our listeners for our ratings because it's in Canada, just like Detroit wouldn't count for Canadian Stanley Cup numbers in Canada. So I know that the Eastern Conference Finals is not going to get a good rating with small market Milwaukee and Toronto. That said, I'm just going to speak anecdotally. I have had so much fun watching these playoffs. I think Milwaukee's fascinating. I think Boston's drama was infuriating. The Golden State-Houston series, when KD got hurt, got more fascinating. Portland's a neat story. There's a lot of young stars. Now Zion's coming in. Now KD's probably moving. And LeBron's not here. And I watch my ratings every day. I've been up 30, 40%. I'm not saying the league is better without LeBron, but I do feel like he's no longer the lead story in the NBA. My show was fine without him. We went a month didn't talk about him. Philly's fast.
You did not go a month without talking.
Well, not
about
much.
There's not a chance.
I don't feel like he's the. Yesterday, Joy said something on the show, and I totally agreed. She's like, after the Frank Vogel hire, she's like, God, I just don't care as much about the Lakers. And I was like, 2-0 on that. I agree. I don't think the league is beholden to LeBron as much as all of us think.
Well, I don't think we're going to find out this year because he is going to be back.
Right.
I think it's going to be fascinating to see the Frank Vogel thing, the Jason Kidd thing. And I also think a lot of us are looking at it as this, Jason Kidd was hired to be look, I don't know why you would hire Jason Kidd as an assistant. He's never been an assistant. Right. The idea that he was a mentor towards Lonzo Ball, I think there was one phone call between the two, like just kind of a little bit of a do-better talk. I do think that he could be a very good advocate for Lonzo Ball. I personally think that Jason Kidd, look, he's represented by Jeff Schwartz. So too is DeAndre Jordan. So too is Kemba Walker. I think that's a little bit more what this is about than about any sort of coaching masterpiece. I think Frank Vogel's a good coach. He's a grinder. I think he'll be fine. I think they'll be better defensively, and they have to reshape that roster and get more shooters around him. But look, America loves a comeback, and I still think LeBron has one last push in him. And this might actually be the best thing for him. This might give him a couple of extra years on his career that he's not playing right now, not beating up his body, and he'll shut it down this summer. But I do think the league is better positioned for LeBron's ultimate exit than it was for Jordan's ultimate exit. Because for people who have forgotten, when Jordan left, there was talent. Right? There was Vince Carter and Tracy McGrady and Allen Iverson and Rasheed Wallace. And Marbury, but Marbury couldn't win, couldn't get along with anybody. You know, brought back twice to New York City and he couldn't function.
Yeah.
Allen Iverson was a mess off the court.
Yeah.
And he had the one finals run but wasn't consistent.
Right.
And, didn't necessarily buy into to being coached. Vince Carter never won enough. Tracy McGrady never won a first-round series. And they just kind of struggled until they found that guy.
Yeah.
And then that guy's been the picture as consistency. I think with Steph, with Giannis, with Kawhi, they're better positioned, but the league still needs LeBron. If LeBron was playing and now we had the Lakers and the Warriors, you would see a ratings bonanza. Let's not kid ourselves.
All right, Doug, stick around. Got a lot of things to talk about. More on Zion. There's a trade possibility with Philadelphia that's kind of fascinating, so don't go anywhere. Plus Bill Raftery next hour. Everybody's trying to eat a little healthier, and we know that. That's kind of the world we live in. It's amplified here in California, maybe. Hard to find the time. You got kids, you got practice, you got recitals, you got, you know what I mean? So sometimes you eat crap. Then there's Soylent. The CEO, Brian, I met, replacing 7 meals a week. It's a complete meal in a bottle. 20 grams of plant protein, 36 essential nutrients, slow-burning carbs. Okay, it's going to keep you full, doesn't wear you down. And it's not a sacrifice flavor for nutrition thing at Soylent. Comes in 7 delicious flavors, vanilla, strawberry. They have a cafe line, which I prefer, so it feels like coffee and breakfast in one. Stop skipping meals. We know you're busy, eating crap because you don't have time. All you have to do is subscribe to Soylent.com, Soylent. Get it delivered free to your door, okay? They have a great deal for my audience. Limited time, 20% off your first case. These are 20 grams of plant protein, meal in a bottle. Soylent.com. The code is HERD20, HERD20, HERD20 to get you 20% off at Soylent of your first case.
When you carry out large 3-topping pizzas for $7.99, Domino's Carry-Out Insurance has you covered. Because stuff happens. Stuff like this. Just bring it back and we'll remake it for free.
I'm with Ricky Fowler, who made a roller coaster of a putt over a subtle buried elephant.
Or made a tough putt over a bump on the green.